Anime is a medium of storytelling. The stories that are told can be happy, sad, exciting, or even tragic. Sometimes you might stumble upon ones that are inspiring, or, well, boring. And lately, it's the boring ones that have made me drift away from anime. It's not that anime has gotten worse. If anything, there's more of it than ever. But as I've watched more and more shows, the stories that I used to find interesting have started to feel familiar. The same premises, the same tropes, the same character archetypes recycled over and over. New anime that seems to bring a new, fresh idea on paper often end up feeling like just a reiteration of what I've already seen in the past. That is why I've been watching fewer and fewer shows compared to when I first discovered anime. The magic has started to disappear. That being said, I kept watching, sticking with one or two shows every season, in the hopes that I'd find that one show that could spark that magic again. Magic that made me fall in love with the medium. And I'm happy to tell you, I've finally found one. Because I found Orb on the movements of the earth. Amidst Dandadan's chaos, amidst Sung Jinwoo's aura farming, Orb introduces Rafal, a 12-year-old genius determined to prove heliocentrism, an astronomical model that places the sun at the center of the solar system, with the Earth and other planets orbiting around it. The problem is, the story is set in 15th century Poland, a time when the astronomical model taught by the churches was geocentrism, the model that places the Earth as the center of the universe, with the sun and other planets revolving around it. Questioning the church teachings was heresy, and people who held a worldview or belief that contradicts the doctrine will be considered heretics. And what do heretics get? This. Now, judging from this premise alone, I understand that this show will be much harder to sell than the more fun, action-heavy shows out there. I mean, the show has barely any action at all, and Orb's greatest strength is in its dialogue. But even though that is the case, I do think Orb deserves all the praise it can get as much as other shows, if not more. I can say this because through its premise and dialogue, Orb created one of my favorite moments to have come out from the last several years of anime. The moment I'm talking about is the Venus observation in episode 9. The episode begins by telling the story of the life of Count Piast, a devout believer of geocentrism. Since his youth, he had an exceptional gift, a sharp eyesight, and a curious mind. One night, he thought he saw something that challenged everything he believed. Venus in its full face, something impossible under the geocentric model. It should have been a turning point, but instead of chasing that truth, he buried it. His dying professor, desperate to complete the geocentric model, asked Piast to carry on the legacy, and when Piast saw him weep, he couldn't refuse. He gave up questioning, gave up wondering, and chose to honor a man's final wish, even if it meant silencing what he saw. Decades later, in the present time, that moment comes back to haunt him as Piast meets our main characters, Badani, Oxy, and Yolenta, who came in search for truth. He offers them a deal, as Venus is about to appear again. If someone from the group can clearly observe Venus in its final phase, he'll hand over everything. His private archives, forbidden records, and generations of astronomical work. But there's a catch. Only if the observation is clear and undeniable. Enter Oxy, someone with excellent eyesight but is afraid to look at the sky. Piast does the vision, Oxy passes with ease. So the moment finally comes when Oxy must lift his head and look up. And then... he saw it. Venus in its full phase. And that's when Count Piast starts to break down. That's also when we get a glimpse of how powerful the dialogue of the show can get. My history, the history of humankind, and years of accumulated learning should never be so easily denied. Then what if there was something powerful enough to instantly deny such learning? something greater than individual needs or will, something that acts mercilessly and without prejudice. If such a thing existed, what do you think would be called? I would call it. This is the moment I knew I was not witnessing another great anime, but a masterpiece. With just one episode, we get to watch one of the most intense scenes being carefully built up, with a payoff that delivers not just anything it needs to, but something truly unforgettable. What really surprised me is that this show is not afraid to tell this very tragic story of someone we just got introduced to, but it's not tragic because the writer of the story wants to make it tragic. It's tragic because it's grounded, it's mature, because that's the thing with Orb. Every character, no matter how briefly they appear, feels complete. Their motivations are clear. Their actions feel authentic. Their words hit like they mean something. Every dialogue given to each character makes them feel alive, like real people with real convictions having real conversations. Let's take a look at Novak, the antagonist of this story, the person that each of our main characters got to cross paths with at some point in the story. Novak is an inquisitor. His job is to essentially execute the heretics. He's portrayed as this cold, merciless person whose sheer presence alone instills a sense of dread to everyone. But what makes Novak truly chilling is not just his cruelty, it's the unsettling humanity behind it. You see, Novak isn't just a villain driven by madness or mere evil. Instead, he's a reflection of the disturbing reality of someone utterly convinced he's doing the right thing. Each interrogation, each punishment, each execution, he carries them out not out of sadistic choice, but out of duty, a sense of justice twisted yet genuine. You started to realize that he sees himself as a protector, a guardian of the society he's pledged to uphold. And there's nothing more terrifying than someone who believes wholeheartedly in their cause, especially when that cause involves destroying lives. And just when you think you've understood him completely, Orb reveals something even more terrifying. Novak isn't just an inquisitor, he's also a father. The tenderness he shows to his daughter is genuine, filled with warmth and care. It's unsettling because it humanizes him. It makes you question your own feelings towards him. You hate what he does, but you can't deny that he's human. He embodies the frightening truth that the line between good and evil is sometimes blurry, that those capable of profound cruelty can also show profound love. It's this very contradiction within Novak that makes every interaction with him tense, gripping, and emotionally exhausting. So when our protagonists confront Novak, it isn't just a clash of ideas, it's a clash of deeply held beliefs, humanity against humanity, each convinced they are fighting for something just. Novak's complexity encapsulates what makes Orb so brilliant. It's never about simple conflicts or clear-cut villains, it's about real people, messy and conflicted, each believing wholeheartedly in their own truth. And I guess I also want to highlight something truly remarkable about this show, since their most intense scene yet isn't a fight or a character's rage, it's a scene of a guy looking up at the sky, observing a planet. That's it. But that's everything. Well, Orb, at its core, is a tale about humanity's relentless pursuit of truth. And one message that resonates deeply with me is that truth will always find its way. That's the inevitable nature and dangerous beauty of truth. No matter whether you literally die or get tortured by pursuing it, truth will always prevail. It spreads like an epidemic, and not even the host can control it. And Orb portrays this beautifully through its passing the torch narrative, as we get to see each character not just holding onto an idea, but actively passing it forward, like links in an unbreakable chain, each generation sacrificing something precious to keep the flame of truth alive, because that's what it took to reach the truth. Many had to lose everything. Orb isn't just about science versus religion, it's deeper, broader. It's a struggle of ideas, a collision of human ambition and fear, of hope against suppression. reminds us that a single idea can change the course of history, no matter how fiercely it is opposed, no matter how powerful the force that stands against it. And the strength of Orb lies precisely in its humanity. It isn't satisfied with presenting clear heroes and villains. Instead, it paints a canvas of real, conflicted individuals whose lives and decisions resonate deeply within us. When I finished Orb, I realized something. Calling it merely an anime felt inadequate, because Orb transcends anime. It's an introspection. It compels us to reflect on our own beliefs, our own truth, and the length we'd go to protect or challenge them. It reminds us why stories matter, because through stories, through ideas, humanity advances, through sacrifice, courage, and most importantly, through truth. And that's exactly what makes Orb on the Movements of the Earth more than just great storytelling. It's a masterpiece. That is why I'm gonna give Orb on the Movements of the Earth a 9 out of 10. Because the 10% credit is given to Patochki.